Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Bob, finally back from a short break. Sorry I wasn't making any videos for a while. I had received some like medical news that I wasn't very happy with, and I guess it got me in kind of a funk. But now I'm kind of on like a small vacation, and with that, I have time to do some stuff that I really enjoy, which is making some of these videos. Now, I follow a bunch of people on YouTube that do the same thing I'm doing, or I'm doing the same thing they're doing. Either way, they're we're all doing the same image comics. Like, that was a big thing. That was like the biggest thing in comics. So everyone had read the image comics and everything, and so they can relate to it. I even get comments on a lot of the videos that people want to see more image comics and things like that. And we all know it's the easiest target to pick on all the time is Rob Liefeld, right? He doesn't give a fuck. He does what he does, and we can poke fun at it or point out the inadequacies or whatever it is. But I want to do a little something different. I want to bring some stuff to you that maybe you didn't know about or something like that. Just do something that I haven't seen anybody else do. So today I'm going to be talking about the comic adaptation of the hit television show Married with Children. Okay. I actually didn't even know this comic existed until a friend of mine gave me a couple of long boxes of comics, and I was digging through and discovered them for myself. I'm sure other people knew they existed. Just going off of the cover, you can see here that it looks very cartoonish, which I think is weird considering that the show was such mature subject matter for the time. I actually feel like, I mean, I know the show's, it's been like 30 years or whatever since it came on, but I don't really see it. I don't know. Maybe they still play it on cable. Haven't had cable in years because who has cable anymore? Uh, but we all know they wouldn't make a show like that today. And it was kind of rougher when it first came out back then. But honestly, it was one of my favorite shows. It was hilarious. The Bundys were not people to look up to. But they were hilarious. So let's dive into Married with Children #1 from Now Comics. Okay. Uh, so here we're going to start with just Peg Bundy and damn, I can't remember the dog's name. How do I don't remember the dog's name? Buck. Okay. Sitting on the couch watching TV. She's flipping through channels while smoking cigarettes because that was a thing that would take place. And she's just clicking through channels when she comes across this guy who says that he's looking for the all American family to do a documentary about. So she jumps at the chance and she's like, I'm going to write this letter into this person. And I'm going to say whatever I need to in order to get this guy to come to my house and film us. Okay. I believe that this comic came out in 1989. That's what I think I saw when I was taking a look at it. So I'm pretty sure at that time reality TV wasn't like a big thing. It wasn't until later on during like the writer's strike and everything that they were like, oh, let's make TV where we don't need writers. So they started bringing out all this reality TV trash or whatever. So it's kind of wild that this, you know, in the comic, if this had happened, in real life or whatever with the Bundys, if they really existed, they probably would have been a hit reality show that would have ran like the freaking Kardashians or whatever. Would have been on for 20 years and everything because people would have been fascinated at watching this family or whatever. But anyway, she gives the letter to Buck, and Buck runs out to the mailman and jumps him. Now, being a comic, they can do more than what the television show would do. We usually had just a couple of set pieces in the television show, and you wouldn't see Buck running around like this or whatever, and then jumping on a mailman. Buck barely ever moved off the steps, except for a couple of episodes that were devoted entirely to him. But anyway, the family comes home, and it's the same. It's the same stuff where Al Bundy comes home and he's like, "Why aren't I being you know, respected or whatever?" Blah blah blah. Then there's a ring at the door, and he says, "It's Marcy. Quick, get the forks." So I'm like, okay. But when they open the door, they try to grab Marcy and they're saying it's dinner time. And she's trying to pull away until she finally breaks away and runs. And I'm like, wait a minute, are they trying to eat Marcy? What the hell? That's not a thing that took place on the show. That was just very weird to me. It just didn't make any sense. But anyway, she was coming over because they had apparently their mail ended up at her house, and she was bringing it over. This last panel here with Pig's ass and Al's face, I feel like that is something that a lot of people would have paid to see with Married with Children, because I'm going to say it right now. Everybody knew that Peg Bundy was the hottest woman on that show. And it was one of the primary reasons why I watched it all the time. But anyway, so she opens the letter and she finds out that, this guy said, yes, they're going to film this documentary or whatever. And she's telling Al this, and Al is just like, he's making guesses as to what the letter says, which is about her having a terminal hairspray disease or something like that, which I guess are jokes that run on par with the show. And then she makes a couple of jokes about them looking for the missing link and finding it with Al Bundy or whatever, until she tells them what's really going on is this guy Billy Barkey is going to be filming them in their natural habitat, which is their house, and doing a reality show. And of course, he's not a big fan of it, but as we see on this next page here, he falls asleep on the couch with his hand down his pants, and starts dreaming about fame and fortune and all the women he's going to get in true Al Bundy fashion. So it's kind of funny here. That actually does kind of stick with the show. One thing that annoys me is that the couch on Married with Children was very iconic, and to not have drawn that couch, but to draw something just this bland brown couch here, kind of takes away from it. Like, I feel like you could have replicated the couch a little better, but it was a cheap comic that they were making and putting out, so whatever. So the next day, this guy shows up at the house to film this documentary, and once he opens the door and comes in, everybody is just doing their own thing. We've got Al Bundy was still asleep on the couch, dreaming about his fame and fortune and the women and everything, when he gets rudely awakened by some guy's big ass kind of landing near his head. And you've got Bud holding up a sign here telling all the women to call him. And then you've got these photographers just taking pictures of Kelly. So again, all of this seems pretty on par with Married with Children, right? A lot of the jokes are the same, but there are some very weird jokes that come up later on that just like the eating Marcy thing, like I don't know, that one again that's not a thing I've ever seen on the show, and that one, I don't know, just seems weird. But we see Al here talking to this big dude with the cigar and the beard, and he's like, Peg, if your mother's going to stay here, she can't smoke cigars. And I actually busted out laughing at that one. That was a good one. We all know the Al Bundy jokes against Peg's mom. Okay, so the guy Billy Barkey tells them, hey, don't do this. We're looking for you guys to just act natural, and we're going to film you, pretend the cameras aren't here or whatever. So they start doing that when Steve and Marcy show up at the door, and it looks like they bribe the Bundys with a can of beans. And Al Bundy's like actually kind of happy about that. And he's like, look, kids, the Rhodes brought us dinner. A whole can of baked beans. That's 43 beans a piece. Okay. He already did the math on that, which I kind of found funny. And while they're sitting there eating, that's when Steve and Marcy start doing a disco routine for the cameras, I guess, knowing that, the cameras on or whatever. I don't know. That one seemed a little out of place as well. It just seemed weird that, I would have said, okay, yeah, I see Steve and Marcy coming over and trying to get some fame and fortune as well. It's just, I don't know. Disco didn't seem like it was the thing that would happen. But anyway, Peg hits Steve with the can and apparently knocks both of them out, and then picks them up and drags them and throws them out of the doorway. But I do want to say that, I did skip something here, right? We have Steve and Marcy dancing, and Steve's like, and Marcy, remember to flash your underwear at the camera. And Marcy's like, I'm not wearing any. And I get it. The show was raunchy or whatever, but I don't know if I remember Marcy being that kind of raunchy. Like, I thought she was pretty conservative, and that was like the point, the difference between them and the Bundys. So it seems very weird that that was said there, but it's like, okay. Again, like I said, some of these jokes seem a little weird. It's like the writer was just trying to be more mature with the jokes and trying to think of anything to fit in there to show that. But anyway, they end up kicking Steve and Marcy out, and Al Bundy's like, well, since you kicked them out or whatever, now I'm gonna go do a little movement of my own or something like that. And he starts heading up to the bathroom, and it looks like the cameraman is following him, so that seems weird to me too. But then Kelly's like, it's 8 o'clock and I don't even have a date yet. But all these men, like the camera crew or whatever, jump in, and she just like walks out and they start following her. And the guy Billy Barkey is just like, wait, like, where are you going? You're not supposed to leave. You got to be here to, to film this show or whatever, right? And so yeah, I don't know. He's sitting there panicking because he's like, the show's not going to work. You guys aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not the All American Family you said you were, or whatever. And that's when Peg starts to come on to Billy Barkey, right? And you know, she's like saying, not, things aren't all bad. Besides, they're still me. And he's like, huh, this isn't happening. And she's like, not yet. While she like kind of throws herself at him. And he's like, Mrs. Bundy, you have children and a husband. And she's like, oh, you mean sexless? He's upstairs and he won't be down for hours. And he's like, well, no, And then suddenly Bud smothers him with a pillow. Uh, Now Al Bundy is in the bathroom and he's talking about how, you know, 4 minutes and no oxygen equals permanent brain damage, which is weird because the camera guy is actually outside of the bathroom, and they're trying to show that like the smell came out of the keyhole. But I just feel like that guy could have gotten away from it. He didn't need, like, he was filming the door, I guess. I don't know. So, like I said, some of these jokes don't really land and don't come off right. But basically, what we have here is Bud and Peg rolled Billy Barkey. So they like smothered him until he passed out. Then they strip him down. They take his wallet, take his money and his ID and everything. That's when Kelly comes home and she could smell that Bud has money on him. So she's trying to get her part. That's when the paramedics come, I think, to rescue the guy that was sitting outside of the Bundy's bathroom that was knocked out from whatever, Al was doing in there. So they take that money and they go to Robo Rabbit's Pizza Emporium, which is okay. Never heard of it before, but whatever. So, they're sitting there eating and they're just talking about how Billy Barkey's taking advantage of them or whatever when Billy Barkey shows up. And Al hides because he's like, I'm spending the money. Now, here's the thing, Al wasn't the one that did any of this to this guy. It was everyone else, and they're not the ones hiding. So that seemed weird to me. Plus, Al Bundy's not the kind of guy who would hide from somebody like that. If we all know Al Bundy, he was the guy who would fight like immediately. That was his deal. But anyway, so this guy comes and he's like, he's not mad. He's still going to film them as the All American Family, and he's going to be at their house and filming every last minute of it. So, the next page here, we've got Peg and Al in bed, and it still says it's day one of this. And she is like, Al, you promised you'd do it. And he's like, no, I didn't. I lied. Go away. The same thing where, she's trying to have sex, but Al never wanted to have sex. The biggest mystery in television history was how Al Bundy did not want to touch the hottest woman on television at that time, which was Peg Bundy. You guys can argue me all you want. She was the hottest woman on television at the time. Okay. Elvira didn't get her sitcom. So Peggy would have came in second there, but because Elvira wasn't there, Peggy was there. So, again, they're getting kind of wild there, like doing this thing while she's like wrestling him into submission, and the whole camera crew was there filming them while they were going to do this, and I guess they were going to be able to put that on television. I don't know. So anyway, so Billy Barkey starts calling Al Bundy a slob or whatever, and then Peg starts taking up for him. I guess that's when they ended up chasing the camera crew out of the room, because now Al is telling Peg about how, this guy was exploiting them, and, they're not going to have a moment's peace for the next 3 months. So Al comes up with a plan. They come downstairs and they have these green spots all over them. And they're talking about whatever disease they must have caught and how contagious it is. And Billy Barkey's panicking. And Peg Bundy is cooking food, and they're saying that it was the Smith's poodle from next door that they're eating, and this guy is just like, I can't put this kind of stuff on TV. These people are sick or whatever. And then we have Kelly saying that she doesn't feel good, that she's going to be sick, and they're still talking about, the food that they were eating or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then the rest of the camera crew gets sick because of that. Then you have the police show up, and again, I'm not sure why. He says, there was an anonymous call apparently, and they have real life people inside, like it was a hostage situation or anything. And so you've got these police showing up and tear gassing the place, which is, having the camera crew run out for their lives or whatever, which I guess kind of released them from whatever contract they were in. So I guess a week later, or 6 weeks later, it says, everybody's watching the television while this guy, Billy Barkey, comes on and talks about the Bundy family and everything, and has nothing good to say about them, and says that they are the worst of the worst. And so apparently, they're famous now, and Al asks Peg what she's going to do with that fame, and she says, I don't know. How much do politicians make? So we end on that note. So that was Married with Children #1. It's weird. I feel like with time, they could have, the concept was good. It's something that the show would have done, where they would have wanted to film the Bundy family for a while or whatever, and they would have found a way to get out of it. They go more cartoony. Like, the show was not for kids, but the comic seems to be for kids. So it seems a little weird, and it seems a little contradicting. A lot of the jokes in this comic are of the mature nature that I don't think parents would have let kids read in 1989. So it's a little weird that some of the jokes in here, a lot of the sex jokes, as a matter of fact, I think one of the jokes they had was when Kelly Bundy left and half the camera crew followed her. When she came home, she was by herself, and they're saying that everybody else outside has passed out from exhaustion. I'm not sure how I was supposed to take that. Did they all basically have sex with her until they ran out of energy? Like, is that what happened? And is she just coming back and, and that's just a normal day for her? I know that in the show they played her out to be like this slutty teenage girl, whatever, which again is very weird considering that she was a teenage girl. And I'm pretty sure, at this time we're talking about her being maybe like 15 or 16, because it was 1989. And like what we have here, like even on this last page, there's a picture of her in the shower, like kind of how, they were filming her naked or whatever. So again, this was, late 80s television where you could get away with things like that, which was odd because, again, a lot of people had a problem with the show, but that just made it bigger. But I don't know. Again, it was a different time. I get it. But like that stuff wouldn't fly today. So it was very weird. It feels weird with me reading it now, being, my age and everything. But that was it. That was Married with Children. I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm going to be making videos on a more steady basis now. So expect more videos from me. If you liked what you watched, please do me a favor and subscribe. I'm trying to get my channel to grow while I'm working on a comic book of my own creation, Ghost Girl. I'm trying to build an audience for it and everything so I can get my name out there. So any help would be appreciated. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Until next time.